Started. Bismillah. Alhamdulillah. Inna alhamdulillahi nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh. Wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات ربي وسلامه وبركاته ورحمته عليه. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. We finished the hadith as we continue Buloogh al-Maraam by the great illustrious scholar Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah, the one who died 852 بعد هجرة المصطفى عليه الصلاة والسلام. Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah died 852 after the hijrah of Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And this tremendous treatise entitled Buloogh al-Maraam, as we've been covering for more than a year now. As we close out this chapter of Kitab al-Nikah, which is a chapter we've been doing for the past year, and mashallah, Alhamdulillah alladhi tatimmu bi ni'matihi salihat, that we finished and concluded the chapter. There's only a couple of hadith left. Which probably more than likely after we finish Kitab al-Nikah, we'll go to the chapter of Qasam, the distribution of time between the spouses. And also likewise Khul'. But the chapter of Nikah has been concluded. Then after that, Bab al-Qasam comes, Bab al-Qism and al-Sadaq and al-Khul'. The chapter, no, I was right, Bab al-Qasam. Babu al-Qasam. The chapter of the distribution of time between the spouses. As we'll cover that, inshallah, after we conclude this chapter. But the last hadith we were explaining was in reference to the one, or what they call الطلاق بنية النكاح بنية الطلاق. And also likewise in regards to the one who indulges in what they call nikah al-muta, temporary marriage, which we said and concluded all these matters are prohibited in our religion. Temporary marriage, alhamdulillah, and also likewise what they call al-talaq, al-nikah or al-zawaj biniyat al-talaq, to marry a woman or a spouse, however their intention is to divorce. We said likewise that it's prohibited. All these matters we concluded, we explained and gave the details of it, and we said that all of it is something that is unlawful and is not legislated, even though what they call nikah al-mut'ah at one time was legislated for only a period of time, and then after that it became unlawful ala al-abad, forever. The next hadith is on the authority of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu ardah, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud al-Hudhali. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud al-Hudhali radiyallahu anhu ardah. He said, قال لعن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم المحلل والمحلل له. لعن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم المحلل والمحلل له. That the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم had cursed the man who is a muhallil and the one who is made halal for. As we'll talk about the meaning of these words, inshallah. رواه أحمد والنسائي والترمذي وصححه. It's been related to Imam Ahmad in his Musnad, and Nasa'i, and Tirmidhi, and he authenticated it. And in the chapter on the authority, Ali akhrajahu al-arba'a illa Nasa'i. As this hadith also is narrated upon Ali ibn Abi Talib, Abu al-Hasan or Abu al-Hussein, you can say, also, radiyallahu anhu ardah. فلا بد أن نعرف من المحلل. So the Prophet ﷺ cursed, and we know that curse meaning الطرد عن رحمة الله، أو إذا كان الشخص ملعون فهو مطرود عن رحمة الله جل وعلا. That the person, that the Prophet ﷺ cursed, and we know that Allah likewise curses certain people. And for this reason you'll find that the la'na of Allah ta'ala, or the la'na of the Rasulullah, or the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, if it's cursed upon the tongue of the Prophet sallallahu, then of course it's for all the more reason that the la'na will come from Allah ta'ala. You'll find there are some ahadith where the Prophet sallallahu cursed himself. He said that the Messenger of Allah cursed so and so. Then you'll find certain narrations that Allah cursed such and such, or cursed the person that did such and such. لعن الله آكل الربا ومؤكله وكاتبه وشاهديه, for example. That the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that Allah curses. So you have a narration which says what, everyone? لعن Rasulullah. Then you have لعن Allah. For example, the hadith that we covered in Kitab al-Tawheed, which is in the chapter of what, everyone? Of the bab ma ja'a في الذبح في لغير الله تعالى. The chapter which comes in, the one who slaughters or sacrifices for other than Allah. If you notice in the hadith that was mentioned upon, or that was mentioned in that particular chapter, what did it say? It said, لَعْنَ اللَّهِ مَنْ ذَبَحَ لِغَيْرِ. It says Allah curses the one who the one who sacrifices for other than him. لَعْنَ اللَّهِ مَنْ ذَبَحَ لِغَيْرِ. لَعْنَ اللَّهِ مَنْ لعن والديه ولعن الله من آوى محدثا ومحدثا ولعن الله من غير منار الأرض وفي رواية تخوم الأرض, to the end of the narration. As it says in the narration, يا معاشر الإخوة, we said that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that Allah curses and that he himself also cursed certain people. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cursed, for example, the one who slaughters or sacrifices for other than him. And Allah also curses the one who curses his parents. And Allah also curses, for example, that narration says, the one who gives shelter to a muhdith, as we talked about. The one who gives shelter to the one who's a criminal, who's truly guilty, or a person that shelters an innovation, as we talked about. And the last part, the one who changes the signposts of the land, is also cursed. We said that narration, Ya Ma'ashal Ikhwa. Notice in that particular one, what does it say? La'an Allah. Allah curses. Then you have similar, another narration, for example, where the Prophet ﷺ informed, La'an Allah akil al-riba wa mukilahu wa katibahu wa shahidayh. For example, the narration of the Prophet ﷺ where he said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that Allah curses the one who eats riba, وَمُؤْكِلَهُ, and the one who entrusts it, and the writers of it, meaning the witnesses, the writers of it, the writers of the contract, and the witnesses. Allah curses all of them. The one who indulges in usury and eating up people's wealth and falsehood. So you find that the narration says what, everyone? You have a narration that says, almost forgot. You have a narration that says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself curses, and upon the tongue of the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam. And those narrations are numerous to be enumerated or counted. And we have an example of this here in this narration. We have an example in the narration where it says, like, La'in al-Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, for example, the al-Wasila wal-Mustawsila, wal-Washima wal-Mustawshima. Or for example, the narration that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam cursed the woman who's al-Wasila wal-Mustawsila, the woman who puts fake hair inside of a woman's hair, and the one who also gets it done. Al-Wasila wal-Mustawsila. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam cursed the woman, the one who actually puts the fake hair or the weave inside of the woman's hair, and likewise the woman who's getting it done. Also likewise, for example, wal-Washima wal-Mustawshima, the one who puts the tattoos on people's bodies, and the one who's getting it done. For you'll find examples of the Messenger of Allah cursing these people and saying that the Messenger of Allah cursed them. And also likewise, for example, al-Mutarajjilat min al-Nisa'i. For example, the women who imitate men. Al-Mutarajjilat min al-Nisa. Those women who imitate men. And likewise, vice versa. Those men who imitate women. They all have been cursed upon the tongue of the Messenger of Allah. Like we said, if the Messenger of Allah cursed these people, then the curse is likewise, for all the more reasons, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another example of this is the narration we're speaking about now, where it says al-Muhallil. What is the meaning of al-Muhallil? The meaning, the Messenger of Allah cursed al-Muhallil. Al-Muhallil. What is the meaning of al-Muhallil? Al-Muhallil. Al-Muhallil, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, just as Ibn Uthaymeen mentioned, he says, the ta'rif, or the meaning of al-Muhallil, he said, al-Muhallil huwa alladhi yatazawj imra'atan mutallaqa min zawjin sabiq. من زوج سابق طلاق ثلاث من أجل أن ترجع للأول حلالا وذلك أن الرجل إذا طلق زوجته 3 مرات طلق ثم راجع ثم طلق ثم راجع ثم طلق الثالثة فإنها لا تحل له إلا بعد زوج. What is the meaning of the word muhallil? Muhallil. Muhallil is the man who marries a woman divorced from a previous husband. A previous husband who divorced her 3 times. Yani her previous husband prior divorced her how many? 3 times. So he marries this woman. This woman has been divorced from her previous husband in order for her to go back to the first. So she can become halal for the previous husband again. That is because a man, if he divorces his wife 3 times, for example, he divorced her once, then he took her back. Then he divorced her again, then he took her back. Then he divorced her a third. For now, what is the hukm in regards to this? What's the ruling? That she's now unlawful for him. She's unlawful for him until she marries what? Another man. Marries another man, and as we'll talk about, not only just marry another man, but marry another man what they call nikah al-raghba, meaning that there's no ulterior motive behind it, meaning that he's a man that actually just desires to be with her, that wants to be with her for however long it is. Meaning his niyyah or his intention is not to just be intimate with her so she could go back to the prior husband. Due to the fact you'll find that Allah Ta'ala says in His book, الطلاق مرتان فإمساك بمعروف وتسريح بإحسان. He said, ولا يحل لكم أن تأخذوا مما آتيتموهن شيئا إلا أن يخافا أن يقيما حدود الله فإن خفتم أن لا يقيما حدود الله فلا جناح عليهما فيما افتدت به تلك حدود الله فلا تعتدوها. That Allah Ta'ala says in His book, وَمَن يَتَعَدَّى حُدُودَ اللَّهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ. That Allah Ta'ala says in His book, He said, الطلاق مرتان. That divorce is 2 times. So Allah Ta'ala then comes with His command where He says, either hold on to her in kindness or release her in a way that is best. Hold on to her in kindness, or release her tasrihun bi ihsan, or release her in a manner that is best. And it is not permissible or lawful for you to take back that which you gave them, anything in a lease. Except, notice Allah Ta'ala make an exception, except that the two spouses, they have fear that they're not going to establish the boundaries of Allah. For if you're afraid for them that they're not going to establish the boundaries of Allah or uphold the boundaries of Allah, then there is no problem upon them of that which they give in exchange, meaning al-khul', meaning that which the woman gives back as the dowry to the man. It's called a fidya. Because that's in actuality what a khul' is. The man gives back, or the woman gives back the dowry, which is like sort of a ransom or an exchange that she gives back. Then, as a result of it, of course, then the marriage contract is dissolved. Then Allah Ta'ala says in His book, that is the boundaries of Allah and the limits that He has set, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whoever transgresses them and surpasses them, then verily they are the oppressors. There's another ayah where Allah Ta'ala says in His book, where He says, فَلَا تَحِلُّ لَهُ مِنْ بَعْدُ حَتَّى تَنْكِحَ زَوْجًا غَيْرَهُ. Another ayah where Allah Ta'ala says in His book, He says, in the third divorce, if he divorced her a third time, she is unlawful for him until she marries a zawj, until she marries a husband other than the prior. Other than the what? The prior one. So it's to tell us what, everyone? That the third divorce, if a man divorces his wife, for example, we just give an example of that. For example, a man says to his wife that she's divorced, then he takes her back. Then he divorces her again, then he takes her back. Then he divorces her again. So now the third, a person has to now look at his situation. Does he take her back? If he can't, on the third, now if he divorces us now, then she becomes unlawful for him. Until she becomes married again, and we'll talk about the conditions of that. Meaning it cannot be a man who wants to just be intimate with her just to make her halal again for the husband. We'll talk about that in a minute. It's going to come, inshallah. طيب. So it says, notice Allah Ta'ala ayah, in the ayah, it says, حَتَّى تَنْكِحَ زَوْجٍ غَيْرَهُ, until she becomes married to a husband, to another husband, other than the first. Notice Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the word in the ayah, فَضَافَ النِّكَاحِ لِلزَّوْجِ. Allah said, حَتَّى تَنْكِحَ زَوْجٍ غَيْرَهُ. Here, nikah does not mean marry, and that's it. Nikah here, in this context specifically, means to be intimate. Means to be intimate. This is what Ibn Uthaymeen says in this regard. He says, فَضَاحِ النِّكَاحِ لِلزَّوْجِ وَلَا يَكُونْ زَوْجًا إِلَّا بِعَقْدٍ فَالنِّكَاحُ بَعْدَ الزَّوْجَةِ هُوَ الْوَطْء. He says, فَأَضَافَ النِّكَاحِ لِلزَّوْجِ. Allah Ta'ala connected the word nikah to zawj. He says, for verily he is not, or he or she is not a zawj, except by, of course, the contract, the marriage contract. فَنِكَاحْ بَعْتِ الزَّوْجِ. فَنِكَاحْ, after one becomes a spouse, it is it's intimacy. Meaning sex itself, it's intimacy. وَإِلَّا لَقَالَ حَتَّى تَنْكِحَ رَجُلًا غَيْرَهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the ayah says, حَتَّى تَنْكِحَ زَوْجًا. So here in this ayah, لو قال ذلك صار المراد بالنكاح العقد. So we know that the word nikah comes in two aspects. The first one is what? Number one, it can mean the actual contract itself. A nikah can mean the aqd, it can mean the contract. That's number one. Number two, it can come, depending on the context, the meaning of it is what they call al-wat'. Wal-wat' is intimacy. To be intimate with his spouse, or the actual affair of sex itself. فمعنى ذلك أن الزوجة سابقة على النكاح وحينئذ يحمل النكاح على الوطء. So we say that nikah, marriage, is applied here in this context. Nikah means what, everyone? It means what they call in the Arabic language al-wat'. Al-wat', like we said, means intimacy. It means sex itself. كما دل عليه الحديث. So now what is the actual muhallil? The word like we said. So now we just established that it's not permissible for a man after the third divorce. The woman cannot return back to him until she marries another husband. And that husband is intimate with her. So what was the one that's cursed here in this context? It says, الرجل إذا طلق الزوجة ثلاثا لا تحل له حتى تنكح زوجا غيره. We already said that. فهذا رجل طلق امرأة ثلاثا فجاء الصديق له. So now this took place. A man divorced his wife three times. Now we know that she's unlawful for him. So now what happened is a man's friend comes along. So a man now, he's saying that, for example, now I can't marry my wife back, or I can't take her back, my wife's children, or the woman of my children. I can't take her back now. I divorced her 3 times. So now he comes to play a trick. So he plays a trick and he involves his friend. I call up my friend. I say, listen, can you do me a favor? Can you marry my ex-wife with the condition that you make a marriage contract with her, be intimate with her, then divorce her. So now she could become what? Halal for me again. So this man marries her, his ex-wife, and his friend also is intimate with her. Then he divorces her. For the Prophet ﷺ said that the man that does this, meaning the friend of course, he's cursed. The man that does this is mal'oon. فَهَذَا مُحَلَّلْ حُكْمُهُ أَنَّهُ مَلْعُونَ, meaning the one that's been expelled from the mercy of Allah. So who is the muhallil? So the first narration says al-muhallil. So who's the muhallalu lahu? The muhallalu lahu, the one who's made halal for. That goes with the what? The husband. That's if they collaborated and conspired upon this matter together, collectively, both of them. For example, the ex-husband, if he's involved, he collaborates with his friend, meaning they conspire upon this matter together. For both of them, so the friend is the muhallil and the ex-husband is the muhallalu lahu. So the sadiq, or the friend, is the what? Is the muhallil. He's the one making it halal for the previous husband. The ex-husband is al-muhallalu lahu, is the one who's making it halal for. Both of them, they come together to agree upon this matter, and both of them are cursed. Both of them are mal'unan. Both of them are what? Cursed. With the condition, like we said, the one who the previous husband, if he has knowledge of the matter. If he has knowledge of the matter, of course then he falls under the la'na, of the curse. But if he does not know, he didn't know at all that his friend was going to do this, is he blameworthy? Then the curse just falls on the who? On the friend. But if the man had no idea, he had no awareness whatsoever that he was going to do this, and he wasn't involved whatsoever, then like we said, he's not blameworthy. But however, if they co-conspire upon this, they come together to do this matter, then like we said, both of them are what? Both of them are cursed. For another example, a person might say, or his friend might say, for example, أنا طلقت أم أولادي وهذه الطلقة الأخيرة تزوجها حللها لي ففعل الصديق رأفة بصديقه تزوجها وجامعها رأفة بصديقه نقول الثاني محلل والأول محلل له والأول محلل له. For example, I divorced the mother of my children, and that was the last divorce. So I want you to marry her. تزوجها, marry her. حللها, make her halal for me. ففاعل الصديق, so the friend did it out of رأفة, out of tremendous mercy for his friend. So he marries her and he becomes intimate with her out of sympathy for his friend. So we say, upon this example, what we mentioned here, the friend is the muhallil, and the first is the muhallalu lahu. And both of them are cursed upon the tongue of the Messenger of Allah, alayhi salatu wasalam. So now the question is, now, based upon this, is it permissible for her to go back to the first husband again if he does this? So both of them came together. They collaborated upon this crime. So both of them carried it out. They actualized this unlawful matter. Is it now permissible for her, even though it happened, is it permissible now for her to go to a prior husband or previous husband? We say no. Still unlawful. Even though they had this intention, or the intention was to do this, you'll find that the shara' still makes it unlawful upon the first husband to marry her again. So, at the end of the day, you still lost out. You didn't benefit other than the fact that you that you that you just fell into the curse of Allah and that's it. So you didn't benefit anything. And like we said, brothers and sisters, and our brothers who are listening, or sisters who are listening, a lot of people do curse acts these days, and it's just like, I don't care. We live in America. What can we do? And that's the reason why we live in a chaotic place now. You see, you see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing the kuffar from the non-Muslims and the Muslims everywhere, due to the fact of them falling and committing acts that incurs the wrath of Allah and His anger. And no one will be happy if you are falling into affairs that makes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala angry. Nobody's going to be happy. Nobody's going to attain happiness. Not in this world nor in the hereafter. So a person has to realize we cannot cheat Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's boundaries and then think we're going to attain bliss in this world as a result of it. And that's what a lot of us think, and a lot of our brothers and sisters, they're going to cheat Allah's legislations. Even though, I know I have a girlfriend, and, I know it's wrong, but still, I'm still going to attain and have a blissful marriage. Yeah, then when those problems occur in your life, you have to reflect. What you put forth of your own hands, or why these affairs are taking place in your life. So a person has to reflect on what his hands have put forth in order for what? For us to improve and one to make tawbah and return back to Allah, so these affairs can change. So Allah Ta'ala does not change the state of a people until they change that which is in themselves. And that is firstly to purify their aqidah and to make sincere repentance to Allah Ta'ala. We see day and night people committing acts that makes Allah Ta'ala angry, and then they think in the end we're going to have this blissful, nice community where everything is going to be copacetic. We're going to have all our affairs in place. Everything is going to be nice. Everybody's going to be unified, even though people are committing acts that incites the wrath and la'na and the curse of Allah upon one. If this is the case, then like we said, no one will be able to attain happiness. You see the non-Muslims, how they're being tested due to the fact that they do those matters that totally transgress the boundaries of Allah. And they're not happy, except that they focus on rectifying their outward appearance, even though their hearts are dark and black. Everything is just focused here in America, especially in the West. Everything is just about rectifying the outward appearance. No focus on rectifying the heart and changing one's his ways, as far as in his belief system and his ways and his manners and his etiquette and his belief. All those things they do not focus on. Everything is just about an outward look. Everything is just an outward appearance. Everything is just a facade. Even though we know in the end, behind closed doors is a bunch of problems. Like, for example, everyone does on social media. Everybody wants to portray like their life is just so flawless. Everyone portrays, I love Bay, I love Boo, I love all this nonsense, I love Boo. And this woman got makeup on with her eyes arched and a long weave, thinking that they so-called doing the world and we're doing the world and we're all happy and blissful. It's just a facade. Because I know a lot of situations like that, when you see social media, and you just be like, subhanAllah, they making their life look like it's so flawless. And he just smacked her upside the head the other day. And I know situations like that. I said, subhanAllah, he just divorced her the other day. And they look at him now. They acting like their life is just flawless. A facade. Going along with these Western ideologies of just focusing on what, everyone? The outward appearance. Not trying to rectify the heart. Purifying the heart from all the diseases, whether they be from corrupt beliefs or those deviant beliefs or those wicked beliefs, or practicing those innovations, or practicing those aspects of kufr, purifying all that and being diligent of purifying his heart from all those different types of those affairs that taint it. No one focuses on that in America. Everything is just focusing on rectifying the outward appearance. Women get their bodies done, their eyes done, their hair's done, they get all these different type of work done on their bodies. Focus on everything is just outward appearance, outward appearance, outward appearance, outward appearance. And at the same time, your heart is becoming more black and more black and more black and more black and more corrupt. That's the problem. There's no what? There's no type of middle course or balance in anything. We're not saying that us as Muslims that we don't rectify the outward appearance. We've been commanded to also likewise make sure our appearance is well kept and we're clean and we're cleansed and we have everything cleansed physically. That's something we've been commanded to do, no doubt. But we keep telling our people, be moderate. Don't go to the extreme. The extreme, that's the problem in our ummah, extreme. Don't make that your focus on everything. Focus on what? Focus on, I'm rectifying my outward appearance. My outward appearance, then you find that you didn't pray. For example, oh, my salat went out. Oh, yeah, I'm good. I don't want to make wudu because my hair just got done. Or I don't want to make wudu because I just got my hair done and my nails done and I'm not trying to make wudu to mess it up. Are you serious? So if that takes the place now, so now we what? Now it's a problem. Not realizing that if Allah wanted, and I've seen this happen to many people, one day you're beautiful and Allah sends a sickness on you and throws you on your back. And you will not have anyone that can help you once Allah has tested you with it. We think that these things on a daily basis are promised, are health. And I've just know a situation just now, I heard the other day, of a person now who used to wake up, he was real physically active. And then just in a matter of a month or two, it looks like now he's about to die. Was up. I'm talking about healthy. Works out every day, works out, food, good, everything. Then all of a sudden, bang. So a person has to not take these things for granted and also be moderate. We're not, like we said, we're not saying we're people to go to the opposite side of the extreme where you start to not care about your outward appearance or not care about, for example, your body, how it looks. We've been commanded to also do that. So let's not forget that. I don't want nobody to think that now they can walk around and their feet stinking and for example, now they're thobe and they come with smelly odors and come on, we got to focus on the heart. La. I'm not saying that. I'm saying be moderate. We've been commanded to keep ourselves smelling good, looking cleanly, and having our, for example, our outward appearance to look nice as much as possible, no doubt. Like we said, it's been commanded in our religion. Don't go to the extreme in it. Like we said, I gave an example of that. A woman, for example, I just got my hair done. I don't want to make wudu. I don't want to make wudu over it. Or you'll find it's extreme now. You become an extreme as far as the focus on the outward appearance. Like I said, you will never be happy if your heart is black. If your heart is sick, you'll never be happy. No matter how much you try to get your hair done, your outward appearance, and try to rectify it to the most utmost. If your heart is black, you'll never be happy. And if the curse of Allah is descended upon you, you'll never be happy. And if Allah Ta'ala curses you and His anger is upon you, you'll never attain bliss. No matter how much you try to get work done on your body or how much surgery you've done, you will never attain happiness. You'll never be happy. So we say, Ya ma'ashal ikhwa, in this regard that a muhallil qala la'natullah alayhi. So you notice in the narration it says, Allah, or the presence of Allah, cursed the muhallil. Qala la'natullah alayhi. So what can be intended here is either khabar or dua. Either it's an invocation or supplication against the person, not for one to say it, but that's the actual meaning of the hadith. Meaning la'natullah ala al-muhallil. Meaning a dua from the Messenger of Allah. That's one statement in the narration. That it can mean there was a dua from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu, or it can mean what they call khabar, which just here in the narration, as it says, it's just informing that the la'in of Allah falls upon one that does this. So it could be muhtamil, as they say. It probably could mean what? The first or the second. But at the end of the day, we know that this affair is what? It's tremendous. That one should what? Stay away and abstain from it. For now we're going to talk about what is in regards to the muhallil. What now if a person comes along and he does this, or for example, a person comes along and in order for his ex-wife, for example, meaning the mother of his children, to become halal for him again, what will have to take place? Meaning a man divorced his wife 3 times. 3 times until, of course we know the woman now is unlawful for him, until she marries another man. Like, what is the conditions now to make the ex-wife halal for the first one now? Meaning not make halal, for example, excuse me, that was poor choice of words. In order for her to go back to the previous husband, and the contract is valid where the marriage is what? Is actually lawful now. Exactly. That's what we're going to talk about now. There has to be 2 conditions. Number 1 is al-awwal sihhat nikah, and yakun nikah what they call nikah raghba, not nikah tahlil nor nikah mut'ah. So the first one had to be what they call nikah raghba. Nikah raghba, meaning the man actually is interested and he actually desires to be with her. You understand, everyone? He actually desires to be with her. So the desire of remaining with her is there. Meaning until whatever time, it's forever. Not forever as far as I'm talking about in the dunya, of course. Forever. It can't be a nikah of tahleel, of making her halal, nor can it be a nikah of what they call mut'ah, of temporary marriage. So the nikah will have to be what? Valid, meaning for the second husband. It will have to be a nikah that's not tahleel, for making her halal, nor can it be a nikah that's what they call mut'ah, of temporary marriage either. It can't be that either. For example, if the woman was to get married to another husband, then it became clear that that marriage for the second one was invalid. Then still it's not permissible for her to return back to the previous husband. It will have to be a marriage that is what? Is valid in all aspects. For example, a man marries a woman, or for example, a man marries the woman who was divorced previously. So now he makes a contract with her. So now another husband, of course, or another man makes a contract with her. So the new husband finds out, for example, when he's making a marriage contract, that that's his sister from breastfeeding. Sister from breastfeeding. So, do we say here in this instance that the nikah is permissible for the man now, or the previous husband now can marry her? I'll say it again. The woman becomes, she's divorced. She marries a new man. So the new man and the wife makes a contract. So while they make the contract, it comes out or manifests just haphazardly that this man is her what? Is her brother from breastfeeding. We know in our religion, or we know in Islam that what? That a woman or a man from breastfeeding, they're actually brothers and sisters now. Just as if they were what? Blood sisters. Takes the same hukum. So, here in this instance, when this man made this contract with the woman now, we say what? This marriage contract is invalid. Because we know we cannot marry someone who's your siblings, whether it be from your bloodline or whether it be from breastfeeding. We know the Prophet ﷺ made that clear. That إِنَّمَا حَرَّمَ الرَّضَاعُ, or that which is from حَرَّمَ الرَّضَاعُ مَا يُحَرِّمُ مِنَ النَّسَبِ, or مَا يُحَرِّمُ مِنَ النَّسَبِ. That which is from breastfeeding makes unlawful that which has been unlawful from what? One's lineage. It's the same thing. So that's your sibling. Right, everyone? That person is your what? Your sibling. So here in this instance, we say that this nikah is invalid. So once it became clear that he or she, that's their brother or their sister from breastfeeding, can she now go back to the what? To the previous husband? We say no. Why? Because the nikah for the second one was what? It was invalid. You understand, everyone? يعني النكاح غير صحيح. وقد اشترط أن يكون النكاح صحيح. That's what you just mentioned. So that's the first condition. So the first condition is that the nikah for the second has to be what? Valid. Can't be no type of what? No marriage contract that's invalid. Or for example, another example. A woman marries the second husband without a wali. Without a wali. Then, now, do we say it's permissible? So they got married without a wali. Khalas, I got married, I could go back to my first husband. We say what? It's batil. The nikah is invalid. Why? Because there's no wali. And if that's the case, it's still not permissible for her to what? Return back to the previous husband. So basically, just to sum up everything, make everything concise, straight to the point, that the second marriage has to be a valid marriage. Has to be what? A valid marriage. Meaning that the marriage of the man who actually is interested in staying with her. And he has no ulterior motive whatsoever. He has to be sincere. He's sincerely coming just to marry her, and my intention is totally to stay with her, to however Allah wills. Right, everyone? So that's the first condition. The second condition, that the second husband also has to be intimate with her. He has to be intimate. And that will come in the next hadith, in the next narration. If you look in your books, notice the hadith of Aisha, which is the last hadith in this chapter. It says that a man divorced a woman. If you look in your books, it says it right here at the last chapter. It says, طَلَقَ رَجُلٌ امْرَأَتَهُ ثَلَاثًا فَتَزَوَّجَهَا رَجُلٌ طَلَّقَ رَجُلٌ امْرَأَتَهُ ثَلَاثًا فَتَزَوَّجَهَا رَجُلٌ ثم طلقها قبل أن يدخل بها فأراد زوجها الأول أن يتزوجها فسئل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن ذلك فقال لا حتى يذوق الآخر من عسيلتها ما ذاق الأول. That's the hadith in which we're going to talk about inshallah. And Aisha is going to come that a man, he divorced his woman or his wife 3 times. Then another man married her. Then he divorced her before he actually was intimate with her. So the first husband or the prior, or the one before, wanted to what? Marry her again. So the Messenger of Allah asked about that. He said no, until the other tastes her what they call usaylataha, her honey, just as the first tasted. Just as the first husband tasted. So the Messenger of Allah is explaining here, alayhi salatu wasalam, giving a tafsir of this in clarity, that it has to be a marriage in which that the husband or the second husband that married the woman has to be in a marriage that's firstly valid, and the second condition is what? It has to be intimate. It has to be intimacy. There has to be intimacy. So that's the second condition. That's going to come in hadith of Aisha. طيب. Now we ask the question. هل إذا عادت إلى الأول بعد النكاح الصحيح هل تعود إليه على طلاق 3 أو على واحدة؟ إنها تعود على طلاق 3 بمعنى أن الزوج الأول يملك 3 طلقات. Now we want to ask the question. If the first wife, or if the wife now goes back to the husband again, and there was a valid marriage with the second, of course, it was valid. He had no ulterior motive. He didn't just marry just to make her halal for the first, none of that. Then he divorces her, of course. Second divorces her. So now it's permissible for her to what? Go back. He had intimacy, everything took place. طيب. Does when she go back to him, is it still upon the third or the 3 Is it upon 3 divorces? Meaning that it starts over again, basically. You understand? Is it upon 3 divorces? Or is it upon one where he owns all 3 divorces again? Basically, does it start over again? Understand the question? Ahl ilm, you'll find that they say in this regard, they say, إِنَّهَا تَعُودَ عَلَىٰ طَلَاقٍ ثَلَاثٍ, that she goes back based upon 3 divorces again. بمعنى أن الزوج الأول يملك 3 طلقات. Meaning that the first husband that he what? That he has now what? 3 divorces. Right, everyone? والطلقة الأولى لا تحسب والطلقات الأولى والأول لا تحسب عليه. So the first 3 divorces from the previous marriage is not what? It's all what now? It's erased, it's done. فإذا طلقها الزوج الأول بعد أن عادت إليه فيملك أن يراجع. طلق ثانية يملك أن يراجع. طلق ثالثة لا يملك. إذن تعود للزوج الأول على طلاق 3 أي كأنه تزوجها من الآن لأن نكاح الزوج الثاني هدم الطلاق الأول. Yeah, that's exactly what he says. So now we say here, he goes back والطلقات الأولى لا تحسب عليه. For now, if he used to marry her again, if she goes back to him, he now can divorce what? If he divorced her, he could take her back. And if he divorces her again, he could take her back. And if he divorces her a third, of course, it's a done deal again. Right, everyone? Now, there's some khilaf as far as in the 2. But however, as far as in the I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, inshallah. I don't want to cause any confusion. And we'll talk about that in the next class. What time is it? It's 2 o'clock already? Wow. Hold on for 1 second, everyone. طيب. Last thing we'll say. قلنا نعم لأن نكاح الزوج الثاني فيما إذا طلق 3 صار له تأثير في الحل. We'll talk about that later, inshallah. We'll come back to it. Next Sunday we'll continue that. We'll read the hadith of Abu Hurairah and then we'll stop. And this hadith is tremendous. And it'll give some clarity and light, especially in what takes place in our communities, ul-Asaf. And we regretfully say that this takes place ul-Asaf, and we ask Allah to rectify our affairs. When the authority Abu Hurairah, Abdur-Rahman ibn Sakhr al-Dawsi, radiyallahu anhu ardah, Abu Hurairah, what was his name, everyone? Abdur-Rahman ibn Sakhr al-Dawsi. Abdur-Rahman ibn Sakhr al-Dawsi, radiyallahu anhu. And we know Abdur-Rahman ibn Sakhr al-Dawsi was originally from Yemen. Abu Hurairah was originally from Yemen, from the Dawsi tribe. The Dawsi tribe is a tribe that emanates from Yemen. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا ينكح الزاني المجلود إلا مثله. Listen to this narration, which is authentic. Where he says, a man who fornicates, who was lashed, does not marry except one similar to him. Does not marry except one similar to him. What does the mean majlood? Just to sum up everything, that the meaning of the hadith, that a man who's a fornicator or a woman who's a fornicator, it's not permissible for him or her to marry a chaste individual. For example, a woman fornicated. Just to sum up everything, make it straight to the point. I want to confuse everyone. The meaning of the hadith is that a man who fornicates or a woman who fornicates they now want to get, for example, the man who fornicated, I want to look for a woman to get married. I'm tired of fornicating. I'm tired of living this incorrect life, this life that is making Allah angry. I'm sick of it. I want to change my life, make tawbah. So if he makes tawbah, that's something different. If he doesn't make tawbah, and he's looking for a afifa, a woman who's chaste or chaste, in this instance, if he marries her, the nikah is what? Is batil. It's invalid. The nikah is invalid. Likewise, similar to that, a woman who's a fornicator, she fornicates. So now I want to marry a chaste man. But she never made tawbah. If she didn't make tawbah, then what? Nikah is batil. Nikah is what? Is invalid. That's the reason why these situations that happen in our communities, the first thing we tell the couples is what? Separate and what? Make tawbah. Because if we married them together and they was together, then what? Nikah is batil. You understand? So that's the reason why we tell them what? To separate and make tawbah amongst each other. Due to this hadith. And you'll find Ahl Ilm mentioned the exact same thing when the brothers was telling me in Philadelphia years ago. They asked Sheikh Ahmed Najmi, rahimahullah, about this. He said they have to separate, make tawbah. They can't marry each other and their boyfriend and girlfriend and they were just intimate the other night. Not, he didn't say the other night, excuse me. They were intimate with each other. If they're intimate with each other, then they have to separate and make tawbah. They have to separate and they have to make tawbah. You understand, everyone? So that's the reason why we say in this instance. So I'm going to just read quickly what Sheikh Salih Fawzan even mentions. He said exactly the same thing. He says, وَمِنَ الْأَنْكِحَةِ الْبَاطِلَةِ نِكَاحِ الزَّانِيَةِ الَّتِي لَمْ تَتُبْ مِنَ الزِّنَا. From those invalid marriages is the nikah az-zaniya, the nikah of a woman fornicator that did not make tawbah from zina. That did not make tawbah from zina. Al-ankihat al-batila. Notice he said the marriage is what? Invalid. فَلَا يَجُوزُ يَتَزَوَّجَهَا الْمُسْلِمُ وَهِيَ غَيْرُ تَائِبَةٍ مِنَ الزِّنَا. والمراد بقوله المجلود يعني من ثبت زناه. So he says it's not permissible for the Muslim man to marry her and she did not make tawbah from zina. She did not make tawbah from what? From zina. She did not make tawbah from fornicating. So what is intended by the statement, if you notice in the hadith it says majlood. Majlood. Majlood means the one who is lashed or the one who is whipped or the one who is lashed. Majlood. What is the meaning of the word majlood? Majlood here in this narration means the one who has been established that they actually fornicated. It's been affirmed. It's been established. It's been confirmed that they fell into zina. It's known. Even though, this is what Sheikh Salih Fawzan even brings the clarification. وَلَوْ لَمْ يَحْصُلْ جَلْد. Even though they didn't get lashed. That's not the meaning of the narration. The meaning of the word majlood is just, it's been established that they fell into fornication. So it doesn't actually mean that they were what? That they were lashed. Doesn't mean that. Even if it can mean that they were lashed, or it can mean that they weren't lashed, but it's been affirmed that what? That they fornicated. That's the meaning of it. So it's فَهَذَا لَا يَجُوزُ. So it's not permissible for a man to marry, it's not permissible for he or she to marry a afifa, a man or a woman who's what? Chaste or chaste. I don't know if they say in America chaste. I know in Britain they say chaste. Do we say chaste here in America or chaste? Chaste or chaste? Or is it both? I hear chaste and I hear chaste both. I hear both here. Chaste, chaste, chastity. Because they don't say chastity. They say chastity. طيب. فهذا لا يجوز يتزوج عفيفة. So the man cannot marry a what? A woman who's a afifa, a chaste woman. It says, well, likewise, vice versa. So we say the condition is that both of them have to be what? That the woman and the man have to what? That both of them have to make tawbah. Hence, if they didn't make tawbah, then the nikah is what? It's batil. The nikah is invalid. He said, فَإِنْ حَصَلَ عَقْدُ فِي الْحَالَيْنِ فَإِنَّهُ عَقْدٌ بَاطِلٌ. If it happened in both situations, he says, even upon both circumstances, he said, nikah is likewise invalid. That's due to the ayah where Allah Ta'ala says, الزَّانِي لَا يَنْكِحُ إِلَّا زَانِيَةً أَوْ مُشْرِكَةً وَالزَّانِيَ لَا يَنْكِحُهَا إِلَّا زَانٍ أَوْ مُشْرِكٍ وَحُرِّمَ ذَلِكَ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ in Surah An-Nur. Allah Ta'ala says, الزَّانِي لَا يَنْكِحُ إِلَّا زَانِيَةً أَوْ مُشْرِكَةً. That the fornicating man does not marry a woman except a zaniya, except a fornicating woman or a polytheist woman. If you look at the tafsir of the ayah, go back to Ibn Kathir, what he says about this ayah. For the tafsir of this is tremendous. Especially even what Shaykh al-Islam mentioned about this ayah. Go back to Majmu' al-Fatawa, likewise, read about this. That's not the meaning of it is that a fornicating man does not marry a fornicating woman or a mushrika, a woman who's upon polytheism. The meaning of the meaning of it here is those women who do not find a hurma in zina. They don't لا يعتقدون or لا يعتقدنا حرمة الزنا. The meaning of the ayah is that they don't have the belief what they're doing is something what? Wrong whatsoever. They don't have the belief. Fornication is the normal thing. I do it. What? What's wrong with it? You understand? They don't have the belief in their conviction in their heart that what they're doing is wrong. It's the norm. It's what society, it's what we do. It's what we do these days. That's the meaning of it. Because of course, a mushrik or a woman who's a mushrikah, does she find a hurma in that? Does she find any sanctuary or anything wrong with that? In most cases, what? Absolutely not. She does not have any belief what she's doing is wrong whatsoever. So that's the meaning of the ayah. لا ينكح الزاني لا ينكح إلا زانية أو مشركة والزانية لا ينكح إلا زان أو مشرك وحرم ذلك على المؤمنين. So that also likewise the believing man does not marry except likewise a woman, the believing woman who's, the fornicating woman does not marry likewise except a man who's a zanin or mushrik similar. Meaning that he does not have the belief what he's doing is what? What he's doing is something that is something that is unlawful. So based upon this ayah is a dalil for the invalidity of a nikah of a person, whether they be male or female, did not make tawbah from zina. It's not permissible for what? For this type of marriage to take place. If it takes place, then the marriage is what, everyone? Marriage is batil. Jayyid? So inshallah will suffice for today. Inshallah, these narrations are very scary, and this should wake us, and this should be a deterrent for us to abstain for these type of matters, because it is very scary. And we ask Allah to rectify our communities, because I see these things taking place, especially in Philadelphia, and it takes place here, lil-asaf, regretfully to say. There's been a lot of situations. I've had a couple. I had this first thing I had to say to them is separate. I've said it so many times in Philly, and I said it so many times here. So a lot of couples. First thing you have to do is separate. First thing you have to do is separate. First thing you have to do is separate. You're like, wow, does anybody believe fornication and boyfriend and girlfriend is wrong anymore? Nobody. I think even the Muslims, like nobody thinks there's nothing wrong with it anymore. It goes back to the wali, the one who's overseeing the affair. The one who's overseeing the affair. It goes back to what the wali sees befitting. There's no specific time. It's legislated that what's the waiting period until they have to wait to see whether or not they're truthful in their tawbah. It goes back to like we said, based upon, if it was in a Muslim country, it'd be upon the hakim or the father or what have you. He would just sit and wait. We'll see if both of them are doing what they're supposed to do. Then they marry him based upon his jurisdiction, his opinion. Here, I tell the brothers here in the masjid, we brothers who's in charge, I tell them, well, you just look to see if they're being truthful, or if there's some funny business going on, don't marry them. If they look like they've been sincere in their tawbah, wait for a mens, because really you're supposed to wait a mens to make sure she's not pregnant. Because you can't marry her if she's pregnant, especially pregnant out of fornication. If that's the case, then you have to wait for that. It's they call istibra' al-rahim, to make sure there's no baby in the womb. Then after that, it goes back to what the wali sees befitting. And that's it. Any questions on the sister's side? So we can end the class. I don't think there's any sisters over there, sister's side, is it? Oh, okay. No. تفضل. نكاح رغبة. رغبة. رغبة means desire. Mm-hmm.
This prayer has to be valid in all aspects. But say if you got married already, made a contract, ate the marriage, but it turned up, they happened to come find out later that he was his sister. He was breastfeeding. He came up later. Is the contract still not void?
Still not void. Let's just say, for example, a man married a woman. Married her. He didn't know that was his sister from breastfeeding. Consummated marriage. Like month passed, 2 months passed. As soon as he realizes that someone says, you know that's your sister from breastfeeding, khalas, you have to leave her. Immediately. And that marriage, based upon the fact that it's nikah batil, still not permissible. Wallahu a'lam.
So, what if the sister had the intention that she wanted to just get married and get divorced?
She shares in the la'na. She shares inside the la'na also. The curse falls on her too. If the man, they both co-conspire, and likewise the woman co-conspired, same thing, same hukum. It's just does not fall on the man, it falls on the woman too.
But even if she may have did it not letting him know that was her intention.
Same thing.
It just on her though, but not on him.
So it'll fall on her, but not on him. Jayid, any questions about the lesson from the sisters? We'll stop. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. couple could, let me. So what if the couple conceives a child and did not know if they were related by